guys, one day's YouTube video. Today we're going Funko Pop hunting nowhere because we're doing a little bit of a different video. And you're probably wondering what happened yesterday, why we didn't put out Funko News Friday. And it's basically because one, there wasn't that many leaks, and two, I was at a convention, but that footage will be uploaded on Monday. Today we're doing a new, just different style video, mostly with the fact that I got a comment the other day, someone asking about how would you recommend, or like asking for tips as a new Funko collector, or someone that wants to get into Funko collecting. So that's what we're doing today. We're giving my top 5 tips of 2025. So if you guys can make sure to smash the like button and hit the subscription, helps the channel immensely. Obviously, we're going to give as much of the best tips I can possibly for 2025 updated Funko Pop collecting as of this current moment, to kind of help out the new collectors to get new pops and how they can kind of get in without feeling overwhelmed, and to figure out what they do want in their collection. So let's switch to this chair, talk about the 5 tips I can give you guys as pop collectors. Obviously, we're doing a little bit of a different style video. Obviously, today we are going to be doing the reason we're doing a different style is mostly because the fact that I got a comment the other day that basically asked us about like the tips for somebody that's trying to be a new collector, and I gave them a little brief little comment rundown, obviously, of some things that I would think would look out. But I realized I haven't done one in a long time, so obviously we're doing an updated 2025 tips for a Funko collector, and basically this is going to be talking about showcasing the 5 tips or recommendations I have for new collectors trying to get into the Funko collecting industry. Obviously, I do apologize we didn't get a video out yesterday. I was at a convention, as you guys know, so I just didn't have time to make a stream and a video yesterday. So I do apologize, but obviously we made an art short already today, and we'll have the stream, and obviously you guys are watching the video today. But let's get right into this video, starting off with number 1, the first tip for collectors, and it's the most easiest one really, and it's basically just collect what you like. And I know that sounds very broad and very, if you do things straightforward, but when I say that, I genuinely mean just collect what you like. Like, if you don't like something, don't collect it. Don't just buy stuff because you feel like you're obligated to. Just collect what you want to collect. If you really like One Piece like I do, then just collect all the One Piece. And if you really like AOT, then collect AOT. But you don't need to collect everything, as you guys see like with my videos, because obviously as a content creator I have to buy a lot more stuff for just the videos purposes and to keep you guys updated. So a lot of times, even though I love all my sets personally, there's sometimes, like, let's say you're not as much of a fan as My Hero as you are of One Piece. Don't just buy My Hero because you feel like, oh, I kind of like it, so I'm going to buy them all because I kind of like the show. If you don't like the show, or you have it's like kind of in between, don't just overbuy because you'll run out of space very quickly. So I recommend buying the shows and stuff that you genuinely really do like, and not just stuff that you kind of watched and you might enjoy. But especially one of the big set is Marvel Pops. If you really unless you really like that series or franchise, I really don't recommend just buying just to buy because you kind of like the movie or kind of like the show, because obviously it becomes a spiral where you just start going crazy with just endless amounts of pops, and then you kind of go back later and you're like, why did I buy this? Obviously, tip number 2, this is pretty much very similar to the first one, but I would say my second tip is do not buy everything. And obviously you're kind of wondering, well, you said don't buy all the sets, but I'm saying, like, unless you're like myself or you're a completionist, where you basically just work, because I do mine content wise, so a lot of times I'll buy everything for the set, like with One Piece and My Hero and Boruto and Naruto and AOT. But I recommend don't buy everything. There's a lot of times that they do duplicates, especially with Funko, where they do a glow, a metallic, and a common, all of the same figure, no difference, just those 3 variations. Sometimes they do glitter, sometimes they'll do very simplistic stuff of the same pop. So I recommend don't buy everything just because you want to complete a set. Like, it doesn't really make sense unless you're a content creator, or B, if you're a completionist, then do that. That's understandable. Or if you've been through Funko for a long time, then I recommend it. But to start off, don't just, I recommend buying the pops of the character you like, and don't just buy a duplicate of the same character just because it glows or because it's metallic, because a lot of times a lot of people start off like that, especially like my buddy and Skittle Rampage. Not Skittle Rampage is my buddy, I wish he was, but my actual buddy and then Skittle Rampage, those are 2 people. They obviously when they started their collection off, they were just buying everything. Metallics, glows, anything that they basically get their hands on, and then they realized now that they're going way deeper into Funko that they don't really want the metallics and the glows, and they just want one form of that character. They don't really need like every Deku mold. Instead, they want certain ones. So obviously that's why I say that don't collect everything just because it's a pop from that series. If you really like One Piece, buy the Luffy's, but don't buy Luffy, glow Luffy, metallic Luffy. Just buy one of the Luffy's, because like Snake Man Luffy has a metallic. Just buy one of the Luffy's because you really don't need those variants, and you're probably in the end of the day going to look at it and say, it's cool, but I really didn't need it, and you could have got a different character from the show and added to your collection. Tip number 3 I have, and this is a pretty simple one, is shop around. And you're probably like, okay, well, that sounds pretty. Again, these are they sound broad, but they're more complex. And basically, when I say shop around, I basically mean that just because you go to the store and you see the Funko Pop you do want, if it's a more value or more priced pop, just wait. You'll find it for a better deal at some point and go and buy it for the better deal. Don't just buy just because you see it. Because a lot of times these stores, especially if you guys have vintage stocks in your areas, they charge an extra more like a $2 for the commons, and then they charge like an extra $5 for just like premiums and pop pluses and exclusives. So I recommend, unless you physically have never seen that pop in all your existence and you cannot find it anywhere else, then maybe just splurge. But for the most part, just shop around. You'll find it for cheaper, especially if you're a new collector. Practically everything is going to be a new character. You're obviously going to see new characters. Obviously, I sense that is that, you know, if you're a very brand new collector, you'll easily find, if your main favorite character is Deku or Bakugo, you'll find like tons of Bakugo and Dekus early on that you can collect. And once you get to the later point, like myself, then you realize, okay, yeah, there's certain pieces that are going to be a lot harder to find. But when you start, it's not hard to find the very first commons, especially because they drop new waves consistently. So you'll find some sort of character that can connect to you, and you can pick that up. So I recommend just shop around a little bit. Go to Amazon, go to different websites, see what you can find. A lot of times you'll find a better deal if you just wait. And I say that because of the factor that obviously you're going to, you know, later on you're going to find those pops, and they're not, most of these pops, if they're especially commons, unless they're the old pops, you'll find for a pretty good deal. So I recommend just kind of holding off. If you see a pop, unless it's a common store like a Walmart or Target where that's going to be retail price, then yeah, do it. But if you're paying more for a pop, don't just do it just because you really think that that's a good deal. Like, look at it, see if it's a good deal on your own, and then maybe buy it. Or if you know it's a character, like, but again, if we were talking about new collectors, so I recommend just waiting and just buy the pops again, the shop around, and then buy the pops you do like. Because obviously, if you see Gojo, and it's more price, you probably could find a cheaper Gojo, especially, but you know, that all variations on all the other stuff. But that is my third recommendation for new collectors. My fourth collector tip is space. And you're gonna say, what do you mean by space? And basically what I mean by that is basically buy within your means of space. Obviously, and I say that because of the factor that if you don't have a lot of space and you're not I'm assuming most of you guys aren't content creators. You guys are just typical viewers that are just wanting to see how to collect Funko Pops. I would recommend not buying everything from a set because of the factor that keep in mind of your space. Because obviously, if you don't have the space to store it and you're going to put it in a box or you're going to put it in the closet or somewhere that's not going to be seen, you probably don't need it. So only buy the characters that you really, really do like. Again, this goes back to being the completionist whole concept where you don't need every character, because there's a lot of side characters they make for certain shows, especially like JJK and My Hero, where they make a lot of characters that it's like, oh, that was cool for like an episode. Like a very good example is Shishido. He's only been in like one OVA, one episode, I believe, or something like that. So it's like you don't need to buy Shishido unless it's for some reason your favorite character, which I don't know how anybody could favorite character be Shishido because he's only been in those like 2 episodes. Don't buy everything just because you want to buy everything. Obviously, I mean, I get it. At first, you're gonna be that's the first thing people see is like, oh, that character, oh, I want that character. But once you get later on to the point that I'm at where I've collected for so long, you'll realize what I mean by that. Unless, again, you're a content creator like myself, where I genuinely just buy to complete the sets for obviously your guys' entertainment purposes. But I recommend just not going crazy to start. Look at the pops, pick a character, the main characters maybe, or a certain set of characters you really like, and really think about, do I like this character enough that I want merchandise from him, or is it just because I really want to collect a Funko Pop? And that'll really help you out in the long run. And my last and final tip, this is probably the most common and most important tip for me personally, is keep your boxes. That is something I cannot stress enough, and people don't talk about it very much anymore because I feel like it's common knowledge, but do not get rid of your Funko Pop boxes. And you're going to probably say, but I'm an out-of-box collector. It's fine, but keep the boxes and keep them in decent condition, because there's 2 big things, or actually 3 big things. One, if you're going to sell it, you want the box. Put it back in the box. Good if it's a good box, like for like how I keep mine, pretty much good. We can keep them stored. Then when you go to, let's say you decide you're not happy with your Funko Pop, you can sell it and you have the box and you're going to get money, that full value, instead of getting like minimal value because you just have the pop. And a lot of people don't want to buy just out of box pops. Me personally, I don't like to do that. I like to have the box unless I physically, and I've never actually really done that. The second reason is because of voice actors. And you're probably like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, what I mean by that is if you're collecting Funko Pops, you probably like going to conventions, or you're thinking of maybe one day going to a convention, because obviously Funko Pops really kind of correlate with that. And you might meet a voice actor of your favorite characters, like I just did yesterday, which that video will be up by Monday. you want the boxes, because if not, they can't sign the. I mean, they can sign the actual figure, but I've never seen anyone do that, and it really wouldn't be valuable to you. You want the box, because if you have the box, you'll get full value, and if let's say you want to sign it and then one day sell it, you'll have a box. It's really important to keep those boxes. I cannot stress that for that like second part. And my third reason about keeping the boxes is because they just look nice, and I don't really feel like there's a reason to tear the box or throw it away, because the boxes just genuinely do look good. And yes, you might talk about storage, but that once they're out of box, if you're an out of box pop collector like myself, I do keep some pops in box now. And that's why I recommend that if you keep the box, you can put some pops in their boxes and keep them displayed in an easier fashion, because out of box does take up a lot more space, don't get me wrong. But when they're in box for certain sets, and I really say certain sets is because there's like some sets like One Piece and Boruto, like again the ones in my background, where they're so big that it's worth it to keep them out of box. However, there's other pops that I do have, like my FNAF collection, some of my gaming collections, where it's like they're better in box because I don't have that many, and they look better just all together instead of just jumbled up. Because what happens is if you don't have enough, you end up just jumbling them everywhere because you're just trying to put pops up. So I recommend that. Those are my 5 tips that I could recommend to new collectors. I do hope that everybody watching does enjoy these tips and can comment down below if there's anything else I missed or you thought was important to tell new collectors. Obviously, that con video will be up tomorrow, on Monday. Sorry, not tomorrow, but Monday. We'll be streaming some more Last of Us today. We already did the art short, so I do hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you guys then. Peace.